Thank you, Molu, for joining this evening. Uh, Thank you. If you're just tuning in, just want to take a moment to thank all of you that are tuning in. This it's about 7:42 p.m. here in the great state of Texas, here in the United States, and it could be different. I know many people are sleeping, but however, I am going to go ahead with the broadcast. I know many uh, I'm broadcast live on my Facebook and on my YouTube as well. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are tuning in this evening. Um, Today, maybe you all have heard, maybe you all have heard about what happened in the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon. But I am not going to re echo the same messages, but I'm going to let the people that we are together. I want to thank Don for tuning in. I want to thank Bob for joining in. Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's good evening. It may be different time in your area, where you are. But I want to take a moment to thank all of you that are tuning in this evening. But my particular thanks goes to those in ground zero. I want to reassure them that we are strong in spirit. We are strong more than ever before, and that it is our will and our will shall come to pass. We will continue to remind the world to understand that the fraud they make against the people of Southern Cameroon, and that our spirit would never be derailed, but we will stand strong more than ever before. Today, you all listen what happened to the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon. The interim president. The interim president was brought to La République Junkyard Court, they call the military tribunal. And I kind of wondering the competency of the person carried on the trial. A colonel, an incompetent colonel in the neighboring country, La République du Cameroon, began the trial of a president, of an interim president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonian. But before I delve into that, I wanted to let La République understand. I want to let the military of La République, their incompetency, the military of La République incompetency to carry on a trial of our leader is a violation of the normal norms. And that is why the person in questions, the uneducated person that was carried on the trial of our leaders, is probably a high school dropout in La République. And as a high school dropout in La République, but because of the cousin and distant relatives, she was promoted to a colonel. And now he stands as a judge to preside over a competent authority in the midst of this. And that is why I am here to let you know that the person that presided over the case of a competent authority of Ambazonian is an incompetent individual that probably is a high school dropout and happened to be a relative of the distant relative of Lankomi that began to promote her to where she stands today as a judge, to preside over a competent authority. And that is why the judge in particular is ignorance of what the law says and what the law stipulates, and doesn't even understand, doesn't even have a clue what the law stipulates. And that is why you may be wondering why many judges walk out of the case, because the person presiding over is incompetent to carry on such a case of that magnitude. First, La Republic is not even a legal authority to try a president of the Southern Cameroon territory. Let's look at some of a special tribunal. They call it a special tribunal. I kind of wondering what special it is. Because when you look at the environment in which the case was being presided, you look like it was nasty environment. And it was so nasty that I could even vomit. And that is what they call a special tribunal. And the presiding judge called Mem Michel. Mem Michel. And that's an incompetent individual that, because of distant relatives or cousin or uncle, that has been pushed her to be whatever he presided over a case, because he happened to be related to somehow a dormant relationship with the general. And that is why she has been placed to preside over a hearing over a competent authority. That is an incompetent individual presiding over a competent people in the midst of this. First, let's listen to what she said. That the document provided by the nationality accused has been admitted. The document presided over by the nationality has been admitted, which means has been accepted. And the subsequent says that the accused person is a refugee, and 6 of the accused persons are asylum seekers. In other words, they have a title conferred to them through an immigrant foreign nations. Therefore, they have a legal status and shouldn't have been extracted to La Republique in the first place. If someone has a legal status in a foreign nation and that person cannot be extracted to that nation until the nation in question deny or a judge, a competent judge in that nation, deny to acknowledge that they consider the person as a refugee status. And so therefore that nation has the right now to adopt that particular individual back to La Republique. Let's listen to another interesting argument that presented by an incompetent judge, that the accused person have a refugee status does not give them immunity on his court. You know, this is you see, this is what baffled me when I asked that La Republique is absolutely, I don't know whether these individuals with a French background education, I don't know, there's something wrong with the French education system. You can imagine that Joseph Owana, they call him a professor. I can't imagine what university he graduated. There's something wrong with the French educational system, because the people with a background in French educational system, it seems like they're mentally deranged. I don't know what kind of curriculum that France issued to people they claim to be professor. And I imagine, what is the curriculum of the French education system? There is something actually wrong in this system. When a people that have an immunity, your authority, you have no authority to override an international immunity. In other words, you cannot. You know, there is something wrong. I mean, there's something really baffles me with the French educational system. I don't know whether there is something absolutely wrong. Because when you have people like Joseph Owen, and when you listen to those individuals, they are incompetent in mentally judgment, they're incompetent in argument, they are incompetent in putting forward their point of argument. And that is why an incompetent judge that because they have an immunity in another nations is not applicable in his own court system. Let's look at the people of Southern Cameroon. The people of Southern Cameroon is a defined nation. It's a defined nation with a defined boundary, with a defined treaty. Southern Cameroon is not a colonial territory of La Republique. Southern Cameroon is a sovereign and defined nation with a defined boundary. The fact that they are cohabiting with the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroon, let me be clear of this cohabiting, because many people seem to don't understand what is a cohabiting. Cohabiting relationship. In a cohabiting relationship, let's say you, many of you have had one time in your life, date somebody, and you met somebody, and both of you move to your home. Let's say you are a guy and you meet a girl, and both of you move to a home, and you choose to live together. That doesn't give you a legality that both of you are married. That simply confers to you that both of you are cohabiting relationship. And even in a great state of Texas, it is recognized that a cohabiting relationship is allowed. And so the people of Southern Cameroon has a cohabiting relationship with the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroon. La Republique du Cameroon in 1960 got her independence as a distinctive nation, whereas the people of Southern Cameroon in the subsequent year, 1961, got their own independence. And so therefore, the two nations are like a cohabiting relationship between a girl and a guy that doesn't confer to each of them to claim a legitimacy over each other. They have the right to pull out of the relationship, and that is exactly what happened when we were formerly cohabiting with Nigeria. And when we were cohabiting with Nigeria, when our people left the Nigeria did not declare war on our people. Our people has a cultural, has a dynamic relationship with the Nigerian during the period of the British administrator. And when the people of Southern Cameroon choose to leave Nigeria, Nigeria did not declare war because it was a cohabiting relationship with the Nigerian authority. And so therefore, in another subsequent cohabiting relationship, because you can date somebody and after a sudden you choose to leave that person and you have the right to date another person. And so that is the relationship we had with the neighboring country, Nigeria, and subsequently La Republique du Cameroon. And that is why we have decided to move ahead with the cohabiting relationship, because we believe that it is not to our advantages, because one person is using it advantage of them. Like, for example, La Republique du Cameroon. La Republique is taking advantages to destroy our way of life, our cultural heritage, our resources are being destroyed. Imagine when we engage in this cohabiting relationship, La Republique has taken advantages, exploit all our reserve resources that we have had prior to engage in this fraudulent relationship. Just like you happen to be a wealthy somebody and you engage in some individuals, like a girl or a girl who is wealthy, engage with a guy, what happens is that one will take advantage to exploit the other just because of the economic advantage they have over each other. And that is why La Republique took that economic advantage to exploit our people and destroy our fundamental basic way of life. And so that is why before I proceed further again, I want to remind that in Dongan and Mountain division, if you have a relative that is living in Dongan and Mountain divisions, and that the electricity has been cut off by La Republic, and I'm sure what is going in now as I'm speaking, there is ongoing genocide in the Southern Cameroon territory. There is ongoing genocide because electricity, if you leave, you have your relative that live in Kambe and in Bui, that the electricity has been cut off. And because they've cut it off, you can understand that the genocide is currently ongoing right now as I'm speaking. So therefore, I am letting the world community that electricity has been shut off in Bui and in Nogara Mountain division. And so the people are absolutely living in an absolutely dark environment. The people in Nogara Mountain division and the people in Bui are living in totally, completely shut down electricity. And because of this fraudulent relationship that they have been forced us to be engaged in. And while I'm still speaking right now, and the people of Bafut, there is ongoing invasion by La Republic terrorist army military in the Southern Cameroon territory, especially those in Bafut and Bali. So if you have your relative that is currently living in Bali, I assure you that you want to call and find out that La Republic military has engaged in excruciating, slaughtering, and murdering our citizens in those areas. And for those living in Ngokutunjia, I want to let our Ambazonian defense system that you need to be focused because La Republic military is now disguising. La Republic military is now disguising like an Ambazonian. But one thing that differentiates them is when you see them, you will know that this person doesn't belong to the particular community. And that is why I am informing those in the Ambazonian defense system. I urge you that breakdown, people are announcing that this one is from here, this one belongs to this. No, you are in the face of a danger and that you need to collaborate. You need to collaborate. I urge all the Ambazonian defense system. You are in a fiscal harm environment and La Republic is not a trusted. And therefore, you have to trust all your defense group and make sure that you engage La Republic in every circumstances and that you make sure that you understand them. That exposure of yourself is not worth it because we are at war and that the war is current. The war is not fought later, it's fought now. But you must be vigilant. You must be vigilant. You must be able to collaborate with other villages so that when La Republic attend, because once you collaborate, you create a stronger bonding, and that stronger bonding prevent La Republic to penetrate. In Bali. Those in Bali, I can assure you, those in Bali, that you got to be prepared. Bali and Bafut area and Manko. And within that vicinity, make sure that you are prepared and well prepared to engage La Republic. Do not attempt to engage La Republic in a single league. Make sure that you collaborate, you communicate, and make sure that every information reach you are listening. And before you engage, you must be prepared and ready. But we want to let the world, because the world believes that we are a conquered territory. We are not a conquered territory. We are a sovereign nation. We are a sovereign nation, and we are a sovereign nation with a defined boundary and a defined authority. And that we must let the world community that the moment has come and gone, but our people must stand and face the enemy. We know that the British government that we entrusted them, but unfortunately, at the end, they did not. The British government, we have been dealing with a British administrator, and we expect them to have a reciprocal when it comes to terms of relationship. But unfortunately, the British government betrayed us. And how did they betray us? despite the fact that we have a British administrator at the Enugu House of Assembly. We have been having an elected executive official in the Southern Cameroon territory. But when it comes to the terms of the decision by the United Nations, let me go over the options that people doesn't misunderstood. First, there were three options that should have been on the table while we were dealing with the British government. First, do you opt as a sovereign nation to unite with Nigeria? Second, do you opt as an independent nation to unite with La Republic? Or third option, which British government adamantly, vehemently refused to acknowledge and even to prove on the table. Do you opt for your sovereignty? And that is the mess that has caused our lives in the Southern Cameroon territory. And that we are here to remind the British. And that is why when we speak, we thank God that the U.S. ambassador in the neighboring country, La Republic, he is very vocal about this ongoing crisis. But however, the British ambassador in the neighboring country, La Republic, remained absolutely silent as though nothing has happened. And eventually, it seems like the British is ambassador in the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroon, the British ambassador to the neighboring country, La Republique du Cameroon, it seems he's obviously out of touch with the reality. He's totally incoherent of the reality. And that is why when the U.S. ambassador began to speak about the brutality exercised by La Republic, he absolutely remains silent. He hasn't offered even a single word to condemn or to acknowledge. And guess what he was prepared for? A natural gas exploitation, and with the collaboration with their foreign secretary. Natural gas. And that is why the United States has a wonderful experience with the British Crown when they fought them against no taxation without a representative. And I expect the British Crown would have learned from distance past history and be able to be matured to deal with this crisis. But unfortunately, the British Crown hasn't learned a lot. They still remain adamantly confused. And sometimes I want to clarify the word they use to describe the people of Southern Cameroon as a secessionist. I want to make it clear. There is a distinction between secessionist and a restoration movement, which means the true distinction is that with a restoration movement is that the people that prior to got their independence and that they have chosen either a formality or dealing with another nation and haven't got to any fruitful relationship and therefore choose to restore what initially was a sovereign nation. Whereas in those who claim a secessionist, let's take a typical example. If the people of Western Province, because it's a prime example and it's still very fresh, you all know that Professor Maurice Kamto won an election and he was deprived of that election. So therefore, if Professor Maurice Kamto group of distant friends and relatives or those who fought choose to form an ammunition or a defense system to fight against La Republic because of their disease and choose that they want to form their own nations. Therefore, that is called a secession. They are seceding because in 1960, when the French administrator Tabe La Republic document to the United Nations, the Western Province was part of that document and therefore can be described as secession. But when the people of Southern Cameroon that had prior independence and that they came as equal partners, not as a minor or above, they came as equal partners. And therefore, if the people of Southern Cameroon choose to leave La Republic, that is a distinction. They simply restore what belongs to them and not declare as a secession. So there is many media. They probably need to be well educated to understand the differences between secession and a restoration, because they are so dumb in such a way that they can't differentiate the word they use in a daily day in everyday activities. So the people of Southern Cameroon simply restore what belongs to them because they were a private sovereign nation in before coming into this forceful marriage that never took place in the first place. And that is why when the United Nations representative presented two identical flags, the purpose of that flag is to remind the public that in our office, we recognize two identical nations. You may choose to have a relationship with the Republic. That doesn't imply that I have recognized you. And that is why the United Nations present two identical maps. And that was the essence. And yet, the world still haven't recovered, haven't acknowledged the reality. And that is why I am explaining to fellow citizens of this great nation. Because you may not understand. You may believe that Africa loves fighting. Africa loves engaging in war. No, Africa doesn't. It's because of the French policy that implemented in Africa that has created chaotic environment, an uncomfortable environment. Unlike for those who are familiar with the United States history, when the United States fought against Britain, they said no taxation without a representation in the British Parliament. Because the British government cannot tax its colony without them have access to the decision-making body. And so therefore the United States representative at the time said we must have a United States representative to be able to have that relationship. And that is why they fought against the British. So in the case of the people of Southern Cameroon, the people of Southern Cameroon has been abused. The people of Southern Cameroon has been destroyed. We were a very prosperous nation with economic advantages. We have a surplus. We did not depend on deficit. We have excess surplus. And that is why the British Crown, in essence, providing subsidies. When the British Crown were providing subsidies, when the British Crown were providing subsidies to their colonial territory, the people that were never providing subsidies is the people of Southern Cameroon. The reason is because they have economic advantages. They have surplus. So since they have surplus, therefore the British Crown did not have to provide any subvention to the people of Southern Cameroon. And so therefore, we have sufficient economic advantages. But today, our people are living in the forest. Our people doesn't even have a loaf of bread to eat. Our people doesn't even have absolutely nothing. Because we have people that distorted reality, changed history, converted into abnormal reality. And today, we have our cabinet that are being arrested and dumped in a junkyard prison that have no basic fundamental rule of law or judgment. There's one important thing before, let me jump to this first. There's one important about the Constitution of La Republic. Part 8, the court of impeachment. The court of impeachment. They say the court of impeachment shall have jurisdiction in respect of act committed, shall have a jurisdiction in respect of the act committed in the exercise of his function, trial to trial of the President of the Republic of the High Treason. Well, if the court has a jurisdiction, the power to impeach or trial the president, then the president absolutely violates by declaring war in a southern Cameroon that has never sought an authority from the House of Assembly that he should have derived his power. He has no legal, no competent authority. He first of all should have sought an authority from the House of Assembly before even derogate such a power. But unfortunately, he has so much a power that no one questions his authority. Right now that I'm speaking, the president is mentally deranged. He doesn't even rule. Now do you know that the president of La Republic is now Chantal Biya? Well, if you don't know, that's what I want to reveal today. I want to let you know that the current president of La Republic du Cameroon is Chantal Biya, no longer Paul Biya. If you are not aware of this fact, because he's mentally deranged, he can't remember his room, he can't remember where he came out, he can't return back to his room. He simply, when he walks, he must be guided like a robot. That is why when there is an important guest comes to a duty, you watch carefully, and you watch carefully. Chantal Biya is always in the midst. Why do you think she's always in the midst? Is to relinquish the deficit that he has, so that the relative, distant foreign guests shouldn't be aware of those deficits. She's always, you can see in a recent video, we show Chantal Biya sitting in a spot that was supposed to be seated by Paul Biya in that spot. And it came to a point where they have to interchange. Do you know why? She wants to fill the deficit, to fill out the deficit that often portrayed, and that she pretend to make sure that the world community understand that the president is competent. But I am here to tell you that Paul Biya is incompetent. The president of La Republic is Chantal Biya. For you to know that the current president of La Republic is Chantal Biya. It's no longer Paul Biya. That is the president of La Republic. As I'm bringing this attention to you, I am revealed to you that Paul Biya is no longer the president. It's Chantal Biya, the president of La Republic. She is now the competent person to delegate any power or appointment. They use a stamp to stamp on behalf of Paul Biya. He is mentally deranged. And that is why she makes sure she fills out every deficit. And foreign diplomats are so dumb that they can't even recall that why is she so vested in every moment that the foreign guest comes into Italy. It's because he is mentally challenged. He cannot carry on any judgment. He is mentally deranged. And that is why I am bringing this attention that the war he declared, he doesn't know that he declared war. He's absolutely mentally incapacitated. He doesn't even know that he has declared war. He doesn't even know that there's an ongoing crisis because he's mentally deranged. Do you understand that? And that La Republic doesn't have a president. La Republic doesn't have a president. Chantal Biya is the president of La Republic as I'm speaking. She commands every aspect. She initiates every appointment. And the Secretary General is just a dumbhead. And that is why I am bringing attention to the world community. La Republic doesn't have a president. La Republic has a Chantal Biya. The wife is now the president of La Republic. And that is why I am standing here to declare to the world community that Paul Biya is incompetent. If they want, they should allow a international psychiatric evaluation, whether he's capable to make any competent decision. Okay. Yes. Sorry for the delay. Yes. As I was speaking, I'm sorry for the delay, but it was somebody that. Yes, I am bringing this attention to the world community that Paul Biya is incompetent. Paul Biya is mentally retarded. He can't focus. He can't carry on conversations. He doesn't recall the wife's name. He doesn't recall the children's name. He can't even walk from his office to the room or back and forth. That's why you always see Shantabia. Take a watch when a foreign guest goes there. Even now, he doesn't frequently receive foreign guests because the fear is that they're going to monitor that deficit and they're going to be wondering what is going on. And so, therefore, he scarcely invite foreign dignity into a treaty. And in certain cases, he's specially organized, and Shantabia is very smart to fill out the deficit. And that is why I am bringing to the world community to understand that the person whom they claim is the president of the republic is mentally deranged. He is incompetent to stand as the president. He is mentally incapacitated. And that is why Shantabia filled the deficit. And so the current president of the republic is Shantabia, no longer Paul Biya. If you are not aware, and this is why I'm bringing this, if you want to disagree with me, let them allow a competent psychiatry to go there, international psychiatry, to evaluate his competency, whether he's mentally fit to be a president of a nation. He's incapable. He's incapable. He's incapacitated to stand as a president of a defined nation. And that is why I am bringing this attention to the world community and to understand, because people haven't acknowledged that he has a mental deficit to stand as a distinctive president of a defined nation. And that is why I am let the people of Southern Cameroon that we cannot in any circumstances have an incompetent individual. And that is why people are calling, they should call for a roundtable discussion, because he can't process the information. He can process the information. How can he process information when he doesn't understand the content of the information in which they are asking? Does that make sense? You can't ask someone, just like when you are going to in a psych unit or people with mentally challenged, and you go there and ask them to invite a roundtable debate conference, and you expect those individuals to provide such a debate, people that he's in a late stage of dementia. I think in the proper terminology, he is in a late stages of dementia. Paul Biya is in a late stage of dementia, and that is why when you see him, he look more of aloof. He can't focus, and that's why when he travel to this French president Emmanuel Macron, when he traveled, came to Africa. When you look at him, when all members of the delegation were looking straight on the eye, he was looking somewhere else. And when the eyes meet, he looks down, because those are how people with those psychiatric disorder or late stage of dementia, they can't focus because they can't process information. And it's because they can't process information, they don't understand the surrounding. And that is why he's always guided. That is why Paul Biya is always guided. And that is why Professor Maurice Kamto, when Professor Maurice Kamto won, they saw it as a threat to him. And that is why he's been picked and placed in jail. And that is why I urge the Bamileke to reunite, to convert a sovereign conference to decide the future of that. This is because the people of Southern Cameroon has already moved ahead. We have moved ahead. Since we have already moved ahead, we are working on the next stages of our sovereign nation. But I urge the followers of Professor Maurice Kamto, to think about what is the next step, because otherwise you are ruled by Shantabia and not Paul Biya, because Paul Biya is incapacitated. You either form your own group to decide what is the future or you leave Professor Maurice Kamto in jail. And that is why the clique, the group of betis that surround Pobia, and they do not want to reveal the secret. And so they are beginning to lock every individual that tries to be an eye-opener in La Republic. And that is why Professor Maurice Kamto has been picked up and placed in jail. But for us, as a defined nation, this is my vision. This is my vision. My vision as a moving forward with the Ambazonian nations. One, to create a currency. Because we need to reject the CFA. We need to reject the CFA. Because once we are already a sovereign government, we are an interim government. We still need more work to be done. The interim government has more work to be done. In the process of cleaning the mess, we have to, one, create an Ambazonian currency. Many people are asking, how can we create an Ambazonian currency when we are not fiscally in ground zero? No, we have our citizens, even if they are in the forest. Even if they are in the forest. I'm sure I've shown a video here where the citizens of Ambazonia are in the forest. While in the forest, they are carrying on trade, business, and so they're selling goods and services in the midst of the forest. And so with the creation of an Ambazonian currency will give an ample opportunity for them to be able to trade and exchange. Instead of exchange of goods for goods and services, they use the medium of exchange, which is the Ambazonian currency, so that they'll be able to use, because this will give an ample evidence that we have let go La Republic. Because if we continue to use the CFA, we are a liability to La Republic. We are a liability. But when we create an Ambazonian currency and began to circulate, many people ask, oh, they're going to flood the market with fake. Of course. Of course. But the essence is to liberate our freedom. It doesn't matter. So long as the citizens in the forest are utilizing the Ambazonian currency, I feel okay. I feel well respected, because they are our brothers and sisters, and that they can exchange their cassava, they can exchange their cocoyam with Ambazonian currency, and that we have let go the CFA, because what ties us with La Republic is the association with the La Republic CFA. Is the relationship that is associated us with La Republic. Otherwise, there's nothing bind us together. So long as our people continue to get to receive the CFA as a medium of exchange of goods and services, then we are still a liability of La Republic. We are still a liability of La Republic. Some people that we have to have a central bank. Well, of course, we can manage. We are in a technological atmosphere. We are in a technological atmosphere. And so therefore, we create the Ambazonian currency. We implement it. And they can have an account. They can have an account, a virtual account, that they can exchange, that I pay you with 2 Ambazonian currency. And they are accepted as a medium of exchange. And that amount, because when you present a credit card, the bank simply acknowledges that you have this amount in your account. That is what the bank simply acknowledges. And that when you pay to this amount, the bank went ahead to subtract that amount which you are entitled into your account. So therefore, having an Ambazonian currency, we have it in addition outside. And that we allocate that when you accept this, then this person will simply acknowledge by signing in, by signing in to acknowledge that you have this amount and that you can go and put your amount, and that amount will be generally accepted as a medium of exchange. This is an imperative that we embark on this status, that to free ourselves from the servitude of La Republic. This is very important. This is important that we must free ourselves from the servitude of La Republic by embarking on the creation of an Ambazonian currency. This is very strategically important, and that we got to let go of La Republic. We got to let go. Because once that currency is instituted and the people began to assimilate, you simply convert the people to a new norms, and that they begin to accept, because that is what is enslaved us, is the currency that we use, La Republic CFA, and that glue us and bind with La Republic. Because once we have our own currency and that our people can log in and acknowledge that I have this amount of Amazonian currency, and then they can exchange their goods and services and they can buy. This is a very economic advantage that we must look forward to and implement gradually. This is a priority. I am going to be talking more about this Ambazonian currency further. And I'm going to also talk about the structure of our government system in a federal state. I'm going to give more detail, concrete detail about the federal structure of an Ambazonian and how they should be able to function in a free world. And lastly, I want to remind the people. I want to remind the people in La Republic that Paul Biya is incompetent. Paul Biya is mentally need a psychiatric evaluation that is incapable. He's mentally incapacitated to govern. And that is why Chantal Biya is currently the president of La Republic. Chantal Biya is currently the president of La Republic. La Republic doesn't have a legitimate president. The wife has already succeeded Paul Biya, and she is the one covering the deficit. Every decision that is made, every appointment that is made, Chantal Biya is the one that delegates those decisions. For you to know, for you, I don't want to let everybody to understand that Chantal Biya is the one that makes every delegation of decision to be made, and not Paul Biya, because Paul Biya doesn't even recall his room, neither his office, or know where his children's name. He can't ask him to stand in front of them and call one of their children's name. He can. He can. Ask him. Let him stay. If you think that what I'm saying is wrong, ask him. Let him stood somewhere and abruptly you brought one of his children in front and ask him what is his name. And if he declares his name, then you prove me wrong, that what I am saying is wrong. Because Paul Biya is mentally deranged. He can't recall anything. Decisions are made by Chantal Biya, and with complicity of the Betis clique that control the Etude. That is what is happening. That is the reality. I know Frank cannot believe. Frank cannot even agree. First of all, Frank is a stupid idiot. Frank is a dumb. Frank is a dumb. And that is why the people of South Africa must let go this Francophone. You know, Frank is a dumb. You know, France always come to the center stage because United States is backing France. That's it. And that's why whatever decision the United States make, France must accept it 24 hours before the time. That is why. France is simply a doormat. That is why when United States make decisions, France approve it before 24 hours before they even announce it over the media here in the United States. Because France is a doormat. That's the reality. That's the reality. And France's strong backbone is because of the resources that generate from Africa and fed them. And that is why they are capable to make rubbish in Africa, because they generate their resources from Africa. Imagine that 50% of revenue generated by Africa are in the Caisse Communautaire Française. That is absolutely true. 50% of the revenue generated by the 50 African, 15, is it 15 or 14? Anyway, somebody typed in here, I think it should be 14. There are 14 colonies of the French. And imagine that in the 14 colony, 50% of their revenue or their fiscal revenue are in caisse communautaire français. And imagine that 50% are in the caisse communautaire français. And if you withdraw the 50%, I urge you, France collapse the next 24 hours. Absolutely. France collapse in the next 24 hours. France depends on Africa. France depends on Africa. France is nowhere to be found when the 14th colony withdraw their resources, and that is why they do not even allow them to even pull out. They control every aspect. They control every aspect. You saw the video when someone decided to pay in CFA. You see, it baffled them. They didn't know what to do. Did you watch the video? Did you watch it? Because someone accidentally want to pay in CFA and they didn't know what to do because they couldn't understand. And that is why that tells you how frustrated that France is. And that is why Africa must liberate themselves from the control attachment of France, believing that France, they cannot exist without France. Africa can exist without France. Africa can exist without France. One, abandon the CFA and trash it. Two, create their own monetary policy and decide the exchange mechanism, because France cannot have France doesn't have oil. Since France doesn't have oil and Africa have oil, and so therefore we give them the price that they can buy. Otherwise, they go elsewhere. You understand? We tell them exactly what is the price of our oil. Because oil is not produced in France, they are obligated to buy. But because the currency they have, they already devalue and create their own amount they have to print and suppress the currency. So they can have a cheap oil from Africa in the expense of feeding the French rather than the people of Africa. This is the beginning of Africa need to emancipate and liberate themselves from the entrenchment of the rule of France. You know, let's take the 14 African nations that have 50% of their resources or revenue are in a caisse communautaire français. In other words, if the United States chooses, I am going to allocate 50 billion to Southern Cameroon, because of the relationship, France will say, okay, I have to give the money to the Southern Cameroon. So America will give that money. Then France will convert it to the exchange value. In other words, the amount they're supposed to give it in the US dollar, they will convert it into the local currency. In other words, they give half of the amount that the United States allocate for the Ambazonian. In other words, Ambazonian doesn't even get the correct amount. And now the Ambazonian is paying a double interest in the expense of our well resources. And that is why French community or the French community in Africa need to abandon the CFA. They don't need to ask France the decision. They just need to withdraw it. And that is why I am bringing attention. That reminds me an important thing that I want to talk about. France is now requesting that he wants to send the United Nations peacekeeping force in Southern Cameroon. I am shocked. I am letting the United States. We will not accept France-led United Nations peacekeeping in Southern Cameroon. France is a useless thing on this planet. We will not, in any circumstances, allow France to send a peacekeeping force under the United Nations auspices. You know what happened in Ivory Coast? You know what happened in Ivory Coast? France was bombing Ivory Coast at night because they claimed to be leading a multinational force in Ivory Coast, whereas in the middle of the night, they are bombing the president. We will not, in any circumstances, tolerate the United Nations to send any multilateral peace force in Southern Cameroon. They should go to their France. They should go and deal with La Republique. Let them go and deal with La Republique and leave our people alone. We don't, in any circumstances, tolerate any multinational force led by the French. Let them concentrate in their France. Let them concentrate. Our people have got enough of this. Our people have got enough of this. So I just bring this attention to the world community that our people has, for the past 56 years, has been adamantly patient. And we have come to the point that we will no longer succumb to that rubbish. We will not succumb to that rubbish. We will not succumb to that rubbish. We are free, independent nations, and I will be talking more on how we can move forward. And there is some group, they claim to be La Republique sponsor Ambazonian conference in March. Look, they are dead on arrival. I am telling all citizens here, all Amazonian citizens here in the United States, be prepared. Because La Republique believe they can come and play those rubbish here in the United States. They are playing on the wrong side of the game. I'm informing the Homeland Security that La Republique du Cameroon, any attempt to carry on whatever the so-called Ambazonian conference, we do not tolerate. Our people have got this wrong. I am continuing to hammer on the Homeland Security that any visa that given to La Republique to come here to organize a conference, that is absolutely wrong. And I am speaking to the U.S. ambassador in the neighboring country, La Republique, for giving visa for those individuals that attempt to dislodge. Our people have got enough of this. We have got enough. This is the time that we must liberate ourselves and stand as one people. Our people have suffered. And I am here, I'm going to echo this message, that those people, those individuals that they claim that they are coming here to organize conference, we are not stupid. We are not stupid. And for those individuals that they claim that they are partnership with those groups, we are not stupid. Let them not temper to come to the United States. They will meet the Battle of Waterloo. Let them temper that are coming in March to organize a conference. They will meet the Battle of Waterloo. We have got enough of it. We have got enough of it. Fellow brothers and sisters, I want to thank all of you that tune in, that we are a defined nations. We are prepared to face whatever eventuality, and that our freedom belongs to the people of Southern Cameroon, and that we must liberate the people of Southern Cameroon. And that is where we began. I want to take a moment to thank all of you. I wish you all a happy good night. Have a nice day, and nice speaking to you tonight.